it's Arlene from Arlene's Creations, and today I'm going to show you how I make my 5-star rated Guinness beer soap. So I start with Guinness stout beer, and I have that measured out, and I do just leave it out on the counter for about 5 or 6 hours, and I stir it occasionally so that it gets flat. I do not boil my beer. I never did. I know other people do, but I don't. And then I put it in the freezer for about an hour or so to get it down to about 40 degrees. I do not freeze it, but I do get it really cold. And here I'm stirring in my measured lye. Now, when you do this, between the lye and the beer, it does give off a horrible odor. The first time I made it, I'm like, oh man, that smells terrible. But it's just the way it smells. So put a mask on, make sure you have your gloves on when you do this. And it does heat up to about like 150, 160. And then I let it cool down. Yeah, there it is at 151.3. And then I do let it cool down to about 100 degrees. And I have all of my oils already measured out, and I have them at about room temperature. They're at about, well, a little over room temperature. They're at about 79 to 80 degrees. So that's how I usually, keep this between the temperatures. So the lye and the beer is at 100, and the oils are at 79.7, almost 80. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add my beer and lye mixture to my oils and stir it before I start to stick blend. Make sure you get all that beer and the lye out of your container. Scrape it very well. And then I'm going to stick blend it to till it gets to a medium trace. You could do it to a light trace. So you'll see I'll start stick blending. And this is a very easy soap to make, and it is absolutely wonderful. The fragrance that I use is intoxicating. Everybody loves it. It's my #1 selling product on my Etsy page. You can go to my Etsy page, which is Lathers and Lace Soap co.com. I'm sorry. So it's Lathers and Lace Soap co.etsy.com. And you can just go into my sold items and you'll see how many bars I've sold on Etsy, but I sell a lot more just between family and friends and fairs that I do. But on my Etsy page, it's my #1 selling product, and they're all 5-star rated. So here I'm adding my fragrance. And it's funny about this soap because every time I make it, I crack up because it looks like it wants to start to rice or, misbehave, but it does that for like 5 seconds. So I'm like, why are you even bothering? You know what I'm saying? So as you can see, I just poured in the fragrance and I'm mixing it. And it gets very thick very fast, but it stays nice and creamy. You do have time to work with it. But if it gets a little too thick on you, just stick blend it and it goes right back to being beautiful and creamy. You'll see as the video goes along. Like I said, the first time I made it, I said, oh, like the fragrance, because I really loved the fragrance. I got it from brambleberry.com. And I said, oh no, it's going to rice and I'm going to ruin it. It's going to be ruined. But nope. It comes together so nice, and just keep stick blending it, and it's a beautiful creamy batter. So this video is in real time, and from beginning to end, with waiting for the lye to cool down and all that, maybe about an hour and a half to make, not that long. So here my batter is nice and thick. It's at a really nice tray. So what I'm going to do now is I separate it. I put about maybe 1/3 of the batter in that white container, and I have 2/3 of the batter in the big bowl. Now you can see on the side of the bowl, see how it looks like it wants to start to rise? You see the batter, how it looks now? But now this is real time. I'm only going to mix it like another minute, and it comes right back to being beautiful and creamy. So just keep that in mind. Don't get nervous. Just keep beating it. And it's going to be absolutely fine. If you follow my recipe to the T with the fragrance that I used, the oils, the measurements, it's going to absolutely work 100% for you. So now in the other bowl, I'm going to add some titanium dioxide. The titanium dioxide that I have is water for water. So I actually have that already mixed in a little container that whenever I need the titanium dioxide, I just re-stir it. So I already have it pre-mixed in that container. And I add quite a bit. I want this top part of the beer soap to look like foam. In other words, like when you pour a beer and you get the foam on the top. So I wanted it a lot lighter than the bottom. That wasn't light enough for me, so I actually add a lot more after this. I should have put more titanium dioxide in the water, distilled water, but I didn't, so that's why I had to add more of the actual water solution. But I put, I think I even put more after this. But I just want it to be, you know, a lot lighter. Now, as I was doing this part, the part in the bowl got really thick again. So I just had to re-stick blend that for like a minute or two. And like I said, you'll see, it comes back so nice and creamy. And this fragrance is intoxicating from Brambleberry. It doesn't smell like beer. I did try a whole bunch of different, see, that's what the soap looks like. That was a little sample. I give out samples when people order stuff from me. I'm adding more, but yeah, I want it a lot lighter. Let me see. Yeah, now that's the color you want. But as I was doing that, like I said, in the bowl, it got a lot thicker, so I just stick blended that for like another minute or two, and then it came right back to being beautiful and creamy. It was just that the batter was setting up, but at a certain point, after you mix it for, you know, for another minute or two, then it's perfect. So here it is. I did stick blend it, like I said, another minute or two, because it was really thick, and then I just mixed it with my spatula. And the mold that I am going to be using for this particular soap is the mold that I got from Essential Depot. It's their white silicone mold with the wire basket. So you'll see. So I'm just continuing to stir this a little bit more. Now this batter makes 10 about 7.5 to 8 ounce soaps. So I always make a little extra batter because I like to put it, make like 3 individual little soaps in a mold for my husband so he doesn't use my nice bars. So I'm going to fill the mold up about 3/4 of the way. You want to tap down to get out any air bubbles. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, what I end up doing is building it up on the one side. I always seem to go to the right side. But even though I'm building it up on that side, I still tap it down anyhow, so I don't know why I did that. So just fill it up and then push it over so that it gets a little bit higher on the one side. So you'll see what I'm talking about. Then you want to wipe off that other side. I was being a little sloppy here. Now you can see a little bit better what I'm trying to accomplish here. I've made so many, I've sold so many of these bars of soap, and everybody just loves it. The scent is really like a unisex. It could be for women or for men, and it's just amazing. And I get it from Brambleberry. So I just grabbed another mold. That blue mold, they're like rectangle bars. I also got that from brambleberry.com. I love that mold. I use it for a lot of different soaps. So now I'm just putting the extra bottom part batter. And like I said, those soaps will be for my husband, so he doesn't have to use my good ones, because the minute I make these loaves, they're gone, especially like for Christmas, for Christmas stockings for men, and for Father's Day, and birthdays, and bachelor parties. Like, they really sell very well. And I think it's because the way that I wrap them as well. You'll see in the pictures how I wrap them. So I'm just getting the batter out of the bowl, scraping it. Now I'm going to do the top part. So I'm just remixing that a little bit. Clean up the mold a little bit. I was going to speed it up, but I wanted you to see exactly what I'm doing. So now I'm going to take my spoon and I'm just going to build it up on that right hand side. So I'm just taking from the left and bringing it to the right. And as you can see how creamy it is, and you kind of have not a lot of time to work with it, but like I said, this is in real time, so you can see. So just build it up until it kind of stays nice. And if you didn't want to make a beer soap, this batter can be used because it pipes so beautifully. You could make cupcake soaps with this, use a different fragrance, put color into it. It's really, really a nice batter for piping because you have time to work with it. But then again, that does depend on the fragrance you use, because some fragrances, they just rice or won't be good. So I'm going to wipe that other side down a little bit with my spatula, just because that edge is going to be white. So I didn't want, and which I missed the corner. I couldn't see from the angle I was at. But that's okay. They still came out nice. So now I'm going to pour the other half down into that little dip first, and then put it on the top, like so. Now what this is creating is, it's going to look like a mug of beer, that like the foam is kind of coming down the side of the mug. So that's the illusion I was trying to accomplish. When I first started making this soap, I just made it flat across the top, which you'll see in one of the pictures of a wrapped soap. But I only did it like that one time. So all the other gazillion times I made this loaf, now I do it this way. But in the picture at the end of the video, when you see the soap already wrapped, you'll see it's just straight across, but I like it this way so much better. And plus, that was a smaller bar. This actually, these bars are, like I said, in between like 7.5 and 8 ounces each. They're huge. And I sell them for $7.50 on Etsy. And nobody complains about the price. And like I said, if you go there and if you look at my, if you look at the ratings, every single one is 5-star, and they can't say enough about the soap. So just figured I'd show you how I make it. So right now I'm just building it up on that side. I'm just taking the spoon and playing with it a little bit. Just trying to make it look like foam on the top of the beer. So I continue to play with it for a little while. Now, I will be selling this recipe. I've been out of work since October. It's already May. And I'm so used to like spending hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, like a good portion of my pay every month on supplies between Brambleberry.com and Nature's Garden and Candle Science and Wholesale Supplies Plus, and on you know, Amazon and eBay, buying different molds, silicone molds for melt and pour. But since I've been out of work since October, you know, I haven't had the money. So I know a lot of people on their YouTube channels, they do like the Patreon thing, but I don't want to get into all that. I figured if anybody would really like to try this recipe, I'd be willing to sell it for $5. I will put in the link below. Not a link, like in the description box, my PayPal account. So you can go to my PayPal, and then in there, what you would have to do is you pay the $5, and then you would leave your name and your address and your zip code, and then I will mail you the recipe. And plus, I decided not only this recipe, but if you'd like to purchase this one, you will get my tea time recipe, which is another fabulous one. And that's actually made with green tea, white tea fragrance. There's honey in it. There's goat's milk powder. Like everything that you would have in a cup of tea is in that bar of soap, and it's delicious. Everybody loves that one as well. So that would be a bonus recipe that you would get if you would like to purchase this recipe. And I usually don't do that, but like I said, I've been out of work for so long, and I only do, not as a hobby. I mean, it is a soap business, but I'm not crazy busy. You know, I mostly just do for holidays and for birthday parties and stuff like that. It's not like I'm selling a million soaps a week. I'm not. So it's, you know, I guess if I really wanted to take it to that next level, I could, but I'm only one person, and I couldn't afford to hire help, and it would I'm afraid it would just get too crazy. So it's, you know, I do make beautiful, wonderful soaps, but I'm not, you know, like manufacturing them or anything like that. It's, you know, I do one loaf at a time. So I'm sure most of you out there can understand, you know. And plus it's hard, you know, you buy so much supplies, and you know, you sell a soap for $5, $6, $7. Really, what are you making? Because a lot of these ingredients are very expensive. So anybody watching my channel for the first time, this is like the first time I've ever offered, you know, to sell my soap recipe. Usually I give my recipes away, but this one is just too good to give away. So if you'd like it, I'm sorry, but I have to charge $5. And if anybody is going to purchase it, I thank you in advance. So look for that. Look for my PayPal email address in the description below. And then just give me a day or two to get it mailed out to you. And like I said, it'll be 2 recipes, not 1. So I'm still playing around with this. And I think that's about how I'm going to leave that. And then I'm going to show you how I cut it. Now the cutter I bought from, what do you call it? Bhaffner, and I absolutely love it. I used to cut all of my soaps, you know, with a knife by hand, and they just, I was terrible at it, like so crooked, and this one weighs 6 ounces, that one weighs 8 ounces. I'm like, I can't, especially if you're going to be selling. Alright, so I am taking the soap and I am unmolding it. And as you can see, in a silicone mold, it just breaks away so easily and slips right out. I love that about this mold. And this mold was from, what do you call it? Essential Depot. So now I'm going to get my cutter, which I said is from Bhaffner. Love it. And it cuts this mold beautifully, so you get 10 perfect 1-inch slices. No, I'm sorry, 11. So you get 11 perfect slices. And here I'm just, you get a little tiny sliver off of each side when you cut it. Just a tiny, tiny bit. So nothing is wasted. I would have like a whole bar and a half wasted when I was cutting them by hand. So it's well worth it to invest in a cutter like this, because it'll make your life so much easier and your bars will be so much nicer. So see that tiny little bit off that edge? And then on the other edge was like nothing. Very little waste. And then those I save and I put them all in a bag and sometimes give them away with an order for little samples to try. Or I just put them in one of those mesh things with the string and use them in the shower. But this is how the bars come out. I'm telling you, this is such a beautiful, beautiful soap. All right, everyone, so that's the soaps. They look like a little mug of beer with the foam going down the side. So I'm just going to speed this up, and then you'll see I put them on the scale. Each one is between 8 1/8 and 8 1/4 ounces. And then when they cure, they'll be about 7.5 to 7 3/4. They're pretty big bar of soap. So everybody, thanks for watching. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Please like this video. Please share the video if you'd like, and hit that notification bell. And if you'd like the recipe, please go to the description box and go to my PayPal, and you'll be able to get it. And this is how I package. Super cute. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye now. Have a happy Memorial Day, everybody. Bye-bye.